Yeah, welcome back to another edition of the M365 podcast, where we explore Microsoft 365, Power Platform, AI, Copilot, and the future of work with experts from around the world. Today, I'm joining for Sailaja Mantripragada. Sometimes the people love me because I pronounce it wrong. Uh, so she is a Microsoft application MVP, Microsoft certificate trainer, a Percival Cloud architect and founder of the Low Code Power. With more than 20 years of experience in enterprise technology, Celia specialized in Microsoft Power Platform, Copilot Studio, Agentic AI architecture, AI governance, and enterprise scale automation. She is helping organizations move beyond simple chatbots and into a new area of intelligent agents that can perform deep search, generate complex documents, orchestrate business orchestration process and security interact with enterprise data. Well, we discuss what separates real enterprise from demos, how agentic AI has changed software architecture, where Copilot Studio is heading, and what organizations need to deploy or to prepare for the next wave of AI automation. Celia, welcome to the MC65 podcast. Can you us tell a little bit about your journey into technology?
Thank you so much for having me, Marco. It's a pleasure to be in this podcast. And yeah, my name is Sailaja Mantripragada, and I am a Power Platform architect and a Copilot architect. Uh, I'm a practitioner who's moved into governance because I see the importance of governance. So, to talk about where I come from, I've been in the Microsoft space for the last 20 years, and I did my master's in computer applications. And my entire journey, entire professional career has been with Microsoft. So,
Okay.
yeah, I worked for 15 years as a SharePoint subject matter expert and then moved into Power Platform because I was doing a lot of business process reengineering. And with after Power Platform, of course, Copilot just turned on all the lights, and I am, the thread that has been on from SharePoint to now is governance and its importance in enterprise scalability.
Mm. And this is awesome. 20 years. When you look back over the 20 years in this industry, especially the last 15 years in Microsoft ecosystem, what was the biggest technology you have seen?
So I've seen that Microsoft has moved. So there was one part where Microsoft technologies were really proprietary, right? So earlier days of SharePoint were very, you know, ASP.NET, and you could only code in the said Microsoft platform. And once Microsoft turned open source, I believe that's a biggest change. Once they allowed JavaScript, jQuery into the ecosystem, I think that's one big change. And from there on, I believe um, Microsoft has been instrumental in democratizing technology. First, we democratized information using SharePoint, and then we democratized apps and application development using Power Platform. And now we are democratizing intelligence by making Copilot agents accessible to citizen developers. So that's the pattern I look at. And as everybody says, AI is the biggest technology change for sure.
Yeah, I think this is a really awesome change, especially all the co-pilots and AI Foundry and this stuff. But what what was the I think the first part or first idea that attract you to low code development?
Oh, this is an interesting story for me. I started as a SharePoint developer in 2008, and I worked with companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield, Securities and Exchange Commission, um, and AARP, like some of the big giant companies. And I was a .NET developer until then, right? Before I started with SharePoint, I was a pro code developer. What happened with me was the first three projects were, parallelly where everybody who's a SharePoint developer was building custom web parts using .NET, right?
Yeah.
At that time, these three projects that I worked with, this would span like first 4 years of my career. And each of these places, I was told not to code.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they said, use what we have, use out of the box and third party tools, right? So I would leverage Infopath and out of the box SharePoint opportunities and maybe some Nintex workflows and stuff like that and build for the companies. So in my fourth endeavor, right, once I completed these three projects, um, I tried to analyze a pattern because I was having the FOMO of, the fear of missing out working with code, right? I didn't want to be obsolete. But then I observed that if three giant companies don't want me to code, that's because they didn't want an overhead of maintaining another developer because their goal was on business outcomes. So then in my fourth project itself, so we're talking 2014, I already started using the term low code specialist in my resume, even before Microsoft coined it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this is great. Low code is it's so interesting. Now we have also these other words like no code, white code, and so on.
yeah.
But yeah, uh, um, but let me a little bit look in your CV, and you was a solution architect, and now you are AI strategist and advisor. How has your role change over the time, and what can you say? What did you think a little bit about about your future? How will all this change?
So what I've seen in my experience over the 2 decades is that um, because, like I said, I moved to low code very quickly. So I was building a lot of Infopath, but then I was also part of big migrations. So migrating from SharePoint 2010 to 2013 to SharePoint Online. During this process, my job was to evaluate the existing apps and workflows and even with Power Platform, right? So whenever we did this move, I observed that citizen development has been a um, major win for what we're doing with low code, but also a big challenge because now, once you say, for example, um, you've provided access to everybody in the organization to create a SharePoint site. After 2 years, you're ending up with thousands of sites that have been orphaned, people created it out of excitement and they've left it, right? So things like that, same with Power Apps, same with Copilot agents now. So so as I lived through these different experiences, I believe governance is one thing that becomes. So when I say governance, right, governance has like 4, 5 layers. I am
Okay.
talking about agent governance
Mm,
or solution governance.
mhm.
So, when we actually start building an agent, what are the things we keep in mind and the best practices when we do that? That governance is the major focus for me. So, I believe the future is in training citizen developers to do it right, because they are domain experts, right? So they have a lot of power because they know the pain points. They have the, you know, they're ready to roll. So training is a primary factor, I believe. And there's a lot more. I mean, I think one more thing is I could see organizations building AI, um, but center of excellence. Like we used to have center of excellence otherwise, right? Power Platform COEs, because you can't expect all these um, citizen developers to know everything about everything.
Mm,
Mm, Every organization would need an entire AI center of excellence with AI architects who are in charge to review what the teams are building.
yeah, that's a really interesting topic. What did you think? Did we? What is the work of I call it pro developers, and we have the citizen developers, and we have this, yeah, I don't know. They build their applications. We have the pro developers. How did you see both roles in this AI area?
Both are really important. So, when an organization looks at AI, for example, Copilot,
Mhm.
it's important to distinguish between, I'm thinking loud here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's important to distinguish between the four different types of AI that Microsoft provides for us, starting with just, are we saying we just want information, just give a prompt and get some information. So we're talking about a regular Copilot.
Mm,
And then there's M365 Copilot, there's Copilot Studio, there's Agentic AI,
mm,
and AI Foundry, right? So it is very important. The reason why I say AI Center of Excellence is somebody on the top needs to separate these use cases based on uh, you know the complexity and the detailedness of each of the use case as to which copilot do you need, right?
mm.
Sometimes you don't even need an agent. You could do it using a Power Automate flow. So what I've seen is a lot of comparison has been going on saying Power Platform versus Copilot, whereas it should be Power Platform enabled by Copilot.
Yeah. I think there was a really funny example. I think it was Amazon. They have the people paid for or getting a leather or something or badges for using AI tokens. And I think, oh, this was not a good idea. They also say it was not a good idea because there are a lot of good machine learning stuff also in Microsoft. I think you don't need all the time using AI for a simple problem. It's cost too
That's
much.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I've I've heard of I've heard people saying, in general discussions, I heard some organizations are deciding whether to keep employees or not based on how many tokens they are burning per
mm,
month.
yeah. Great idea.
I don't know where it's taking them, but yeah.
Yeah, I think when we work for OpenAI or Anthropic, it's a good idea, but I don't know if it's really good for companies. Um, but we have this governance topics, and that's it's one thing I often discuss with my I don't know clients and other people, uh, and how did should we balance innovation and control? Have you there any tips?
Hmm. So guardrails is definitely important, but it should definitely, you know, I always say governance should not be the cop, it should be the enabler, right? So I compare it with the traffic system. Just because you have a Lamborghini or you can afford a Lamborghini, you don't hand it to your 16-year-old new driver's son, right? You ensure he gets the driver's manual, does the due diligence and the road rules, and then let him touch the steering. So, my first tip would be to start with, start with a small workflow. So, if you're asking a citizen developer to go pro Copilot, right? Like you just say, okay, take one or two workflows. Let us do the due diligence on what data sources you're going to touch for just these two workflows. For example, they say, I'm going to build a Copilot agent on the HR document library because I want to identify all the opportunities for this quarter, right? Something like that. And the governance team's goal should be to ensure that those three document libraries or that site that this workflow is going to touch, it is clean, the permissions are good. So I believe because companies are drowning in data right now, and if we try to boil the ocean, we can't go too far. So that's one thing I'm thinking of. I've built this entire uh, triage system for my customers. If you're a vanilla Copilot implementation company, you're just getting started, I would suggest create a governance portal first, ensure all the guidance is in there in terms of acceptable AI usage policy and things like that. And I would start with a triage form, which will say, why are you building this agent? Who is the business approver? What is the business purpose? There are like a 20 different fields that you can fill in that you can use as audit trail later on.
This is interesting, and there are two topics I am really you say, but let us start with the HR example. So we have a lot of personal data. So how can we use this secure and compliant from your perspective?
So there are some governance tools Microsoft provides to check for DLP policies, and you know you provide the details, and it gives you the cleanliness of your data. But I am actually building a tool for this,
Okay.
which I call it the just-in-time AI governance framework,
Okay.
where once we know these are the data sources you're going to touch, maybe a few database tables, a couple of SharePoint sites. On click of a button, the tool uses Graph API
Yeah.
to go scan all your data sources, and it gives you a remediation plan saying, yeah, you're good to go. All these are, so you check for um, the documents and see if there's PII. If the documents are labeled correctly, just check purview. and see if the DLP policies are correctly in place, if the connectors are blocked, and things like that. I believe the just in time governance will be really useful because, and then, intent versus outcome. There needs to be a comparison when the developer said, this is what I'm building, this is the goal. There should be a mechanism to evaluate what has been built. Is it matching the intent? Because that's where compliance meets.
Uh, is this tool available actually?
Um, it's in progress. I mean, I have deployed it in a couple of customers who, where I consult and directly built it in their tenants. The goal is to make this available so that it can be deployed in any tenant. That way, so it's not readily available right now, but we are close to that.
This is cool. Then we need another session. I think this is really interesting. I really interested in your tool. Um,
Thank you.
uh, cool. Um, so we have this topic. I say AI governance or AI readiness, or this has so many words. But I say AI governance is becoming, I think, a major topic. Why is it so important? Actually,
Okay, so governance has always been there, right? Um, why it has suddenly become so important is because we've created many, many messy rooms in this house called an organization. We've made them messy not intentionally, but somebody had created a table, a SharePoint site 5 years ago, set permissions to a certain degree, and probably even left the organization or the department. All these siloed sites, I call them messy rooms with lights turned off. I if I'm a contractor in your organization and you have set the HR SharePoint site permissions to everyone at the rate everyone, you didn't know that because somebody else has set it. I don't know it because I'm a new contractor. So I wouldn't go and look up your HR documents because I'm unaware. But with the rise of Copilot and citizen developers building agents, anybody can give a prompt and say, go look at these three SharePoint sites and libraries and bring me all the details. And now that's a light bulb moment where your messy room is lit up now, right?
yeah.
That's that's why governance has become important. Earlier, it would be more like a checkbox that you would check for compliance and for audit. It was always an afterthought. I can't generalize too much. There would be organizations that have been meticulous from the get go, maybe, but a large portion of the enterprises I have seen have been struggling with this because sometimes I used to call myself a chaos manager because once you're a senior SME, people bring you into projects where they say we have 4,000 sites or 2,000 power platform solutions that people have built. I need you to help me govern them now because it was an afterthought.
Mm. Yeah, I often see there are a lot of people or leaders in companies. They are happy. Oh, my peer view is green. We are happy. Um, but what are misconceptions do leaders or stakeholders often have, especially when we talk about AI governance from your perspective on your project?
A few places that I went to, it's sad, but there are many people that are not aware what governance means. at all. So, misconceptions would be governance is a security team's project. That's the first one because people, it's about governing, right? So they think that it is, there's a GRC team, governance, risk, and compliance. That team is responsible for um, AI governance. That's one misconception. And then probably another thing is people have heard the, the term responsible AI.
Yeah.
So they also think that governance lives in the LLMs.
Mm. Yeah.
Even technology people, um, many people who take classes or go to YouTube to understand AI will attend the first class, right? It could be from anybody, we don't know. So they would just do their first video and assume that responsible AI means ethics and compliance and um, observability. These are the words they'll hear if they open a YouTube video on large language models. So they will think it's OpenAI's job or Anthropic will take care of governance. So that's another one.
Yeah. That's one thing I think really interesting is we have this GRC, governance, risk, and compliance topics, and they think it's all the same. But yeah, um, that's it's so interesting. But you have these awesome skills also in Power Platform. Let's a little bit talk about this. So Power Platform has evolved dramatically over the last few years. What changes excited you most?
I have, so within Power Platform, my expertise lies in Power Apps. So I've built a lot of Canvas apps and Power Automate. These are my favorite tools. I had to obviously like everything, but I don't want to. Um, I believe it's important to specialize and go deep in a few things while learning what all the other tools can do for you. So I had focused on Canvas apps, model driven apps, and Power Automate. And oh, tremendous changes in the last couple of years. And the ability to use AI to build Canvas apps. And I'm just trying to think of the list of updates that came in. It's a never-ending day-to-day list. Like yesterday, you thought of something, and today it's changed, right?
Yeah. That's really interesting. Have you tried out this new, I don't know, it's code apps, I think, in Power Apps?
Yes, I've built a couple of apps using code apps, but I am still stuck at vibe coding because um, more than code apps, I've tried more of AI Foundry.
Mhm.
So I like how uh, the fusion development is what I'm a fan of. Like you know, take your Power Apps and supercharge them with Azure functions, for example. So when you do those things, it's a lot of win. And now with AI, right, it's easier to build your function. And then, so yeah, building Canvas apps with AI capabilities.
Mm.
That's what I'm doing.
Did you think the Power Platform, I think a lot of executives think so, it's only for citizen developers, or is it also for pro developers? And will you say it's enterprise ready?
It is pretty enterprise ready right now. The ALM has evolved so much as your DevOps and the ALM strategies. application lifecycle management for everything Power Platform. It lives in solutions and environment variables, and so the life cycle. As long as you're doing the life cycle management right, it is definitely enterprise ready. Again, again boils down to we as developers building expertise in each of the uh, you know features that are available, right? So y- you know, we have ALM features deeply sitting in Azure DevOps, and uh, you know you need to understand solutions. You need to understand why you need to create solution aware workflows, right? There's so much in the building of it that is involved in ensuring that you're creating enterprise ready applications. So it is enterprise ready if you are building your capabilities right within your teams.
What did you think? Did we join a world or a future where natural language becomes the primary development interface?
It will. It is already becoming um yeah, there's I have a huge take on that. Natural language, so low code power was built because um I mean it was built when even slightly before natural language took over, but um, because we want to help organizations harness natural language programming and application building in the right way. And I see totally that uh, development is becoming a natural language framework, right? That is how it's going to be in the future, even for pro code developers. So, people who understand, you see how we started with prompt engineering? They said, let's build good prompts and then make a library of the reusable prompts. Then they realized prompt engineering means you're assigning tasks to AI. You're saying, do this for me, or you're asking it some questions. Then we realized that this is moving from prompt engineering to context engineering, right? And context differs. So you can create a prompt library, but can you create a context library? Is a debatable question, right? So I believe now that organizations need to create global prompt libraries of approved prompts, wherein uh, everybody, you don't have to be an expert at prompting. You could reuse existing prompts from your library. But when it comes to context, it should be a department level venture. Each department, for example, HR again, right? Think we are in the HR department. Some citizen developer is building an agent, and they will need a prompt. They will also need to provide context. And if they are new to the organization, or not everybody has complete context of your department, right? So I believe at the department level, there needs to be approved context, list of context built, and somebody needs to take ownership of keeping them current. For example, today you have a certain strategy, and tomorrow, as a department, you have pivoted, right? You would want the agent to get the latest context of that department. So, a global prompt library and local department wise context libraries. Uh, and I'll talk about frameworks going forward. But that framework libraries is also something I'm thinking about because with natural language, everybody has a different way of prompting, different way of talking to AI. But as an organization, you want to stand for the same thing, right? That's where governance happens.
Mm, you say we have this context libraries. How did they compare to Copilot skills or skills in AI?
I'd say Copilot skills is a technology piece, and prompting or context engineering is the domain part.
Mm,
So any agent that you build should not come from the thought that I now have mastered creating Copilot agents, so let me create the next one.
mm,
You mastered it, and now the goal is to understand a company or a department's business and their current way of working and identify use cases that can be automated and AI sprinkled so the businesses can achieve better outcomes.
mm,
Unless that part is figured, you shouldn't start building agents unless you're doing it for practice.
mm. Yeah, let's just talk about agents. How did you define agentic AI?
Agentic AI again is, yeah, I've seen people understanding and using AI agents and agentic AI interchangeably, and that is a huge piece. So we are moving from the step one was asking AI and it meticulously giving you answers to anything you ask.
Mm,
And then we've moved from there to deliverables. I just did a um, presentation on the concept of prompt to deliverable. So the goal should now be I will just give you one prompt and the the agent. I'm coming to agentic AI. I just wanted to talk about the agent first, so we evolve correctly into agentic AI. So we give a prompt. So I did one for company profiling. If you're a sales, if you're in the sales team, and monthly, weekly, you have to vet customers and come up with an entire customer profile for like 50 customers, 100 customers. Um, that is a manual process, right? So the goal should be just say, give me the company profile for, um, say, M365 show. And it needs to give you a detailed, templated, predefined output, a deliverable that you can directly use for your sales call. That's it. Everything else should happen in the Copilot Studio orchestration. Now, this is a simpler example. So, this could be achieved using a Copilot agent.
mm,
So, basically, Copilot agent is um, your task taker. It's like a developer that you assign a task and say, I want to accomplish this task, and the agent will do it for you. And agentic AI is a concept, it's a system of agents that are able to talk to each other and can retrieve context and make decisions on the fly.
mm. Oh, how did you see in this discussion between agents? What role did MCP play?
Oh, MCP does play a huge role. MCP is your unifying layer because it's similar to APIs for your development world, right? So you, I'll give a two simple example. If you wanted to find out what the weather is and show it on your website, you would just pick the API for the weather channel or the that particular company's API and code it into your website to get the details from that company, right? Now, that's the same role, similar role an MCP plays. It's called a Model Context Protocol, which is a unified layer for you to access any data source. For example, you would use like a MCP, a SharePoint MCP that within your Canvas app, so that everything you get now, it is grounded. It helps in grounding. We haven't covered the concept of grounding within AI, but now that we are here, so we've heard that AI hallucinates often, right? That's because there is no ground. Your information or your agent has not been grounded in correct information. What MCP does is ensures that you are when you access SharePoint, instead of doing it directly, when you do it through an MCP, it allows you to uh, access data from your data source in a unified, standardized method.
Mm, Um, yeah, I'm more the AI founder dude, and okay, Microsoft will hate me. I never had to look into Copilot Studio, but it's becoming such a strategic platform for enterprises. Why? I don't understand. Can you explain me this?
Sure. So, Copilot Studio is your, as the name suggests, actually, it is that studio. It is your orchestration engine, right? So, there are a bunch of things uh, that you want your agents to do, whether it is a single agent or now agentic AI, where you're saying you would provide an epic of details, and your first agent gets triggered, and it automatically calls your other agents, and sometimes even creates some other artifacts for you to talk to each other. So it is like a bunch of developers. Supposing you have a 15 developer team, right? Now you can completely replace uh, that team with agentic AI architecture.
Mm,
And Copilot Studio is the engine for it. It won't, you do not want to give it the full load. You will want to utilize the other parts, um, that, for example, the knowledge sources, the tools, where you add the MCP servers to it. You're making this Copilot Agent Pro code, the Copilot Studio Agent Pro code, but the Studio Agent itself is the orchestration engine. You can call agent flows into it. You can call, um, you can provide MCP servers to it, and that is where everything will live. So
mm,
going forward, um, Copilot Studio governance again becomes very, very important, because now you're not even saying there are 5 agents that I need to govern. You're saying the agents will take decisions on the fly. And so I'll give you an example. Uh, for example, you're teaching a long division to a student, right? A school student. Um, you're teaching long division. So they start, some number of 5,200 divided by 24. Teachers would check not just the answer, they'll say, show your work, correct?
mhm,
They'll say, show how you did this and how you arrived at the answer. That is what we will be doing going forward with Copilot, agentic AI, because um, The final outcome might be correct, but in the second step, they could have taken a wrong decision. So now the goal is to govern the entire step by step governance is needed to make sure every step the agent has taken correct decisions.
This is really cool. So, can you walk us without expose a client through a real world scenario where a, a agentic flows create a significant business value?
Yeah, sure. So I help an R&D tax credits boutique firm,
Hmm.
and IRS process for um, calculating R&D tax credits and evaluating it is a very, very cumbersome process. So we use uh, Power Platform and Copilot agents together to make it easy for their customers. So for example, a, a huge giant company, we will take example of Microsoft because it's easy. Imagine Microsoft is doing its R&D tax credits. So there, the IRS looks for proof that for each department that you want to claim R&D tax credits, you need to show the experimentation done and the documentation you created, the patents, there's like tons of work. It's called Form 6765. It is a form that companies need to fill. It's huge. So we are automating that for their customers. So I use Canvas apps. So I start with a Teams channel in the customer's environment because the goal is to make sure data is extremely secure and it is in the customer's tenant. Everything should be within their own tenant so nothing goes out. So we start with a Teams channel and use the underlying SharePoint. You know how every Teams comes with its underlying SharePoint. So we use that SharePoint site, create lists and libraries in there, and use that as the data source and create Canvas app that goes through the entire process of qualitative and quantitative proof of a company doing research and development. So, sorry, how we do that is uh, the company identifies subject matter experts in the like managers in their organization, right? They fill out this long Canvas app and attach documents. And then on top of this, I use SharePoint MCP uh, to, query and provide reports on the data that has been, the work that has been done for experimentation. And we could also, for the same company, use the prompt to deliverable tool that I told you for customer research, right? So I've built agents that do customer research, that also do like you've done a sales call, you can take the transcript and completely build an agent on top of it that will give you ready to use deliverables after your sales call. So yeah, there's a huge workflow.
Yeah, yeah, this is really huge workflow. When we talk about AI agent, there is, I say, a lot of buzzwords, but something is really interesting, and it's called reasoning. Can you explain what is reasoning and what role it play in yeah AI agents?
Reasoning. So yeah, so for example, like I mentioned earlier, just think about humans, how we do reasoning, right?
Yeah.
If you are given something to do, or if you're thinking about something, You reason based on your knowledge,
Mhm.
right? So you have based on what you know. Supposing I want to invest in a stock, I will reason based on how much money I have, my risk appetite. Do I want to invest? Do I want some cash in hand? Which companies are doing well? So there are a bunch of things that you need to know in order to be able to invest in a stock. So compare this with reasoning in agents, right? It is a similar concept. Basically, if you're assigning some job to an agent or a set of agents, you want them to reason before they make decisions. That's where I was talking about step by step governance to make sure that every step they've, the agent has taken the right decision. That stems from reasoning.
Mm. Yeah, awesome. Um, I think a little bit about, or how did you think about orchestration versus autonomy? What did you think about this? Is it the first? I don't know. How will you make your, yeah, decision?
Autonomy, yeah. See, I believe it's definitely not completely recommended
Mhm.
to leave an agentic AI system autonomous. Definitely, there needs to be humans in the loop.
Mm.
Human in the loop is a very, very important concept. As much as we say that AI can do everything, we have the capability to create agentic AI. Some decisions, it's there are two things attached here.
Mhm.
One is business decisions, where some approvals need to come from senior level executives. You do not want agents to make decisions that involve security risk, compliance, things like that. Um, Even if they do, we need human oversight on any autonomous agents. So it's a combination of understanding what you need to leave to an agent versus what needs to be controlled by a human. So yeah, that there tech, even technically there are some places where, for example, um, you've asked to build a huge application. You could even talk about Claude or a Claude Core, for example, and it built you like millions of lines of code. How do you review all this, right?
Mm.
I There's a lot involved in this because imagine your current team leaves. What happens to all that code that was built? How would another team come and understand what was built? So there's that part, scalability, reliability to keep it going, first of all, right? That's one part. And the other part is business outcomes. Do we, once a workflow reaches a point, do we, you need to route it to a human and then some review be done and then get back to the agent.
Mhm.
That's how it should be done.
Mm. Awesome. I think a little bit, uh, how what your tips or ideas, or let me change this question. How do you prevent agents from becoming expensive, unreliable, or difficult to govern? How do you do this?
AI governance from day one. Mm, that is the whole concept. I say build fast so that mo- the the tagline of low code power is build fast, govern faster.
Mm.
So with all these capabilities in hand, completely start with governance at every level.
Um,
Having a governance team or somebody who's overseeing governance, a governance portal, training practitioners and developers to build with a governance mindset. So governance layered in at various levels is how you accomplish preventing that swarm of agents that becomes uncontrollable.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. Oh, we're running a little bit of time, so we have joined in the rapid fire round. So I ask a question, and you tell me what first come in your mind. Um,
Mhm.
so
Exciting.
yeah, one Microsoft technology more people should pay attention to.
Copilot Studio
What's the most underrated platform feature?
platform feature.
Yeah,
Um, DLP.
when Microsoft give you all resources you need, money, personal, what will you develop?
Wow, that's not a rapid fire question. Let me think. Um, I will develop an affordable agentic AI governance framework for every organization.
A lot of AI trends are yeah, interesting. Something is overhyped. Did you see the what trend will you see have a future and what not?
Um, Vibe coding is overhyped.
Okay. Um, one productivity habit you can't live without.
Can you repeat?
What productivity habit you have you can't live without?
Oh, I have built something for myself called Life Operating System in my SharePoint tenant. It's personal. So I am a mom of two kids and I have like 2000 things that I'm working on at the same time. So so I've built an entire system with Copilot in it um, that I can't live without anymore.
What's the best career advice you ever received?
It's not enough that you do great work. It's important to show your work and show the world what you're doing.
Uh, Is there one book or conference or learning resource everyone working with AI should read or listen to?
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Uh, I can suggest a book off of my mind right now, but show up in multiple places. Be, you know, what changed for me is the first Power Platform conference that I sponsored myself to, because that once you're visible and once you see more people doing same thing as you are doing, the confidence doubles. It's useful in multiple levels.
For your life or career perspective, what's more important, the MCT, the trainer, or the MVP?
For me, both, um, because like I said, uh, the goal with the company is to enable organizations to adopt AI securely, responsibly, and training plays a major role in that. And MVP, because when I I can only share when I learn, so it also propels me to learn well. And so learning, sharing um, is really important in today's day and age where every you can take a break for one day without looking at LinkedIn
Mm,
and you don't know what you already missed. So
yeah, yeah, I'm
both are important for me.
yeah, yeah. I think my whole life is on LinkedIn. Um, but what is something you're will learning next?
I am this week. I will be taking the Agentic AI Business Solutions Architect exam. But yeah, on a bigger picture, I am also working on getting my AI GP. Mm, It's the AI governance professional exam that is provided by IAPP. It's an organization. So basically, that certification is primarily the goal of lawyers and security teams. And I would love to understand the GDPR, EU AI Act, ISO, you everything that relates to governance from a legal standpoint, because that's where I see my future career going.
What's the best food you ever eating in your oh yeah, in your lifetime?
Life food.
Yeah.
Oh, I come from Hyderabad in India,
Yeah.
and I love biryani. I'm a vegetarian, so it's diluted, but veg dum biryani.
Mm, yeah, so we are over an hour. So well, thank you for the time. So my last question is, when you meet your 20-year younger yourself, what tips will you give her?
I would tell her to just show up in communities earlier. You know, just share your work without being leave your imposter syndrome. That's my advice.
Oh yeah, we have had also a nice conversation about the imposter syndrome. Yeah, so thank you for this fantastic conversation. I really love it, and I think when your tool is ready, we have to do a live stream of the M365 show. Uh, I really, really, really interested to see it, and yeah, I think thank you so much. For sharing your insights about Power Platform, Copilot Studio, Agentic AI, enterprise automation, and especially governance. And yeah,
Thank you so
um,
much, Marco.
I think all the links are in the show notes. And yeah, so until next time, keep learning, keep building, keep exploring what's possible with Microsoft technology and AI. And yeah, thank you for all the listeners. And yeah, if, yeah, I give you the last words as a shout out to the listeners. You can say what you want.
Um, to all my listeners, build fast, govern faster.
It's really good. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.